welcome to episode 15 of the Not Your Average Knits podcast. I am kbridgeo. You can find me on Ravelry as kbridgeo, and I also have a Ravelry group called Not Your Average Knits, and on Instagram I am also Not Your Average Knits. I always put all of the information below here on the screen. It's been, I think, 3 weeks since I've podcast. The last 2 weeks I've been super sick. I've had really high fevers and not really any other symptoms. So the doctors are just kind of testing me like crazy. I guess I have lots of inflammation, but they don't really know where or why. So I've just been kind of fighting through how you feel when you have a fever, which hasn't been very fun. So I feel so kind of detached from all of the knitting world right now. I haven't had a lot of time to knit, or haven't really just felt up to knitting. But I've been kind of following along with everybody on Instagram and some other podcasts and kind of seeing what people are doing. But I'm super excited to finally be feeling better today and able to record this podcast. So that all being said, it's going to be fairly short because I don't have tons to show, haven't got a lot completed, but I did just want to make sure that I jumped on and kind of said hi to everybody and see how y'all are doing. I've definitely missed you. So the first thing I want to jump into is what have I done, which I haven't completed anything. But if you remember back, I guess over the last couple months, I was working on a secret test knit. So I can finally show you that because it has been released. So this is the Between Bark and Tree cowl by Gabrielle Vizina. I've done many of her patterns before that you've seen, and I've test knit for her before, and her pattern was featured in the September yarn box. She actually had two patterns. She had a bulky weight and a fingering weight because there was two different weights that you could have potentially got in this month's box. So I had been test knitting the heavier weight one for her, and actually I got the fingering weight yarn in my box, which you'll see later on, so I may do her other pattern with that yarn as well. But anyway, it's very dark. I should say too, it's late afternoon. I was going to podcast earlier today, but the Patriots were on, so though I probably should have podcast instead of sticking out and watching a game that they lost. But anyway, so it's late and the light's kind of bad right now. But this is it. So it is a infinity loop cowl. Do a provisional cast on and join at the end. It is all cables, as you can see, so it's kind of an interesting symmetrical cable pattern, which obviously and also makes it reversible because the way the cable is done. So it's nice, and the yarn I used is Ancient Arts Big Squeeze, and this is their what's the color? Oh, Blue Spruce is the color right there. So it's a good double loop cowl. It's a good size. Yeah, so it's great. It was super easy. It didn't take me very long at all. I think that it was like I don't remember how many row the repeat was because I actually did this back in August. But it wasn't too hard of a repeat to remember. I just sort of kept notes on like a card of which row I was on. Some rows have, to sort of know like where the cable row was. So it went pretty well. So definitely check that out. I will put the name below. She has some great patterns. She was having a sale on patterns, but I'm not sure if that sale is going on anymore. But she does have some great stuff, so definitely check her out. So again, Between Bark and Tree. So in terms of what I'm doing, I'm not going to show you the Chroma, the striped scarf that I do, the Jared Flood, I forget what he calls it, Noro striped scarf that I do in Knit Picks. Chroma, I made like this much progress. But anyway, like I've said, that's my kind of, project bag that comes on the commute with me to work every day. So I only made a tiny bit of progress on that, and I also only made a small bit of progress on my Times a Thief scarf, the pattern that I had designed for Yarn Box back in April. So I'm doing another one in the yarn that I got actually from Yarn Box that month, Pretty Silver Gray. So I've shown that on the last couple episodes. Again, I made like this much progress on that, and you'll kind of see why, because I've been trying to be super monogamous on a project that I talked about last time. And I don't even think I've posted on Instagram any of it, so no one's really kind of seen how far I've got. Anyway, so I'm not going to show you those two projects. I did want to show you a little bit of progress on my Miss Grace shawl. This is the pattern and kind of project kit by Scano. Let me make sure I'm showing you the front. Yep. So last time I was where the progress keeper is. So I've made a little bit of progress vertically, but also, you know, you're increasing stitches every single time. So I mean, last time I was like here, so I've still kind of extended the size of the shawl a lot. And again, it's really dark, so this blue isn't showing up nearly as pretty, but it's kind of blues and silvers and grays. But it's fun. Like, I just love the super dark blue. So this kind of is, if I'm sitting around, I'll do maybe a little bit of it. When I was with my knitting group, I think I worked on it a little bit when I was with them. But, oh God, can you see? If this distracts you the whole time, I'm sorry. But I had a CT scan, and I had where they do like contrast. So I had an IV in that spot, and the IV was there like for hours while they were waiting for my test results. I don't take to needles very well, so apologies for that. Anyway, so this is Miss Grace. So it's going well. I mean, I really need to get it done before November, which is when my craft fair is, which hopefully someone will buy it at. And as well as a lot of people tend to want to order them around Christmas time, and they do take a lot of time to complete. So hopefully I'll get back to this after what I show you pretty soon. The one other work in progress that you did see early on is the Road to Rhinebeck Mystery Knit Along by Mina Phillip. I think I showed you, I don't know, maybe just Clue 1? Probably, because I think Clue 4 came out. I don't know. I am through the middle of Clue 3, so all of the clues are out. Clue 4 came out last weekend. Again, hadn't spent much time on it for the big monogamous project I'm working on. And Clue 3 was one that I had to pay attention to the directions, so I couldn't really I had to be sitting on my couch with the directions in front of me to be able to do Clue 3. So it didn't make much progress on it. So if you don't want to see up until half of Clue 3, look away. But at this point, I feel like people are kind of maybe far enough along, or at least have seen the pattern and have an idea of what it might look like. Oh God, all right. I'm not going to keep apologizing for the light, but the light's really bad. So it is looking to be semicircular shawl. And these colors are a pink and like a chestnut brown from Mrs. Crosby Carpet Bag, which I've had in my stash and absolutely adore. So anyway, so Clue 1 was just this basic garter and the stripes. Clue 2 was this sort of kind of slip stitch crossover section in the brown, and then another garter stripes. And then Clue 3, if you can kind of see, it's sort of this chevron sort of rib pattern in the pink. So I think I have maybe I think you can see that I have like 2 full ones and then the start of like a third row. I think I still have like 2 or 3 more of these rows to go, and then another stripe pattern, and then start Clue 4. I looked at Clue 4 but didn't kind of dig into it enough to even know what it's going to look like in Clue 4. Did look around on Instagram, and not a lot of people have got that far yet. I think there's so many other knit-alongs going on between Andrea Maries and Stephen West just started, and so I think a lot of people are working on different things. So anyway, so this is it. I mean, I really like it, and I'm definitely going to get back to it. It shouldn't take me too long to finish, but it's really soft, and I really like this yarn. And sorry if you hear my ice cube maker in the background. I'm off my game this week. It's tough to get back into the groove, especially on a Sunday, because I don't usually podcast on Sundays. And then, let's see, started a new project. This was just kind of to kind of get going on something sort of easy and kind of like another take-along project. So this I'm making with the Knit Picks Chroma Twist, and this is in the bulky yarn, and this colorway is Sandpiper. So this is 70% superwash wool, 30% nylon, and each 100-gram hank is 127 yards. Again, the color is going to be bad, but not too bad. So it's a mix of just kind of off-whites and creams and grays and blues. And this pattern is called the multi-directional diagonal scarf. And it is free. And it's fun. I think I actually might do this with Feederbrook Farm yarn too. So it's kind of knit in triangles. So this one is the just kind of base triangle. And then this is the second one, and now I'm about to start the third one, and then it kind of keeps going like that. It's neat. I think it looks cool in this yarn just because it's sort of, you know, that hand spun feel of yarn. So each triangle is going to look a little bit different. And it goes pretty fast because like you're working on this one triangle and you feel like it's taking a long time, but then I finished and I was like, wow, that already goes up a bunch of inches. So I think it'll just be a nice kind of basic scarf that I might, I don't know, give as a gift or see if any family members want it or whatever. So yeah, so this was kind of a fun one. Yeah, so that's good. Then let me show you the bag this one's in. So this is, you've seen lots of her bags at my house because I buy all of her stuff. So this is Erica from Scrappy Thread. So if you remember, I had a flat sack notions pouch from her, which is all like the yellow and black bumblebees. So when she came out with a drawstring, so I also have a zipper bag of hers and just a different set of patterns. But when she came out with a drawstring pack in the bumblebees, I knew I had to have it. She also sort of redid the interior for me because of some issues I was having with the fabric inside. So she has amazing customer service. So definitely she is a definite bag maker to check out. And all of her updates are Sundays at noon on Etsy, the Scrappy Thread, and they sell out really fast. So set your alarms is all I can say. Anyway, so that's one of my recent kind of purchases as well as this bag. Okay, now for the big reveal. So I am working on another Rhinebeck sweater. So if you remember way early on, the very kind of first sweater I've ever made for myself, I did the worsted boxy by Joji Locatelli in Malabrigo Rios, which I like, which I'm absolutely happy to wear. But when the Veronica cardigan came out, I absolutely fell in love with it. And Tracy from the Grocery Girls made one, and she wore it on on one of their episodes, and I loved it, and I knew I had to make one. So I bought Blue Sky Fibers wool stock, and it's going to be really small for you to see, but the colorway is Storm Cloud. I don't know if it's going to focus. So this is, these are just 50-gram hanks, and they're 123 yards. It's 100% fine Highland wool. Normally, I'm very much a merino wool person. I like soft, I like merino and silk, and cashmere I like very soft. But Tracy had actually mentioned, and the sweater itself was kind of designed in a heavier wool. Tracy used a heavier wool, and just because of the structure of it, I think it's nicer to sort of have wool that just kind of is a little tougher, I guess. I may eventually make another one with a softer yarn just to sort of see how different it is if it's a little bit drapier. But this one I just kind of wanted a really heavy sort of wintry sweater. It does have open sleeves, and it's a cardigan, so it's open in the front. So I definitely want to wear it for Rhinebeck and wear some sort of just long sleeve t-shirt or something underneath. Anyway, it's going to be difficult to show because of the way it's constructed. You kind of start on one side of the cardigan and then wrap around the back and like finish on the other side, and then you pick up some stitches and do a border on the bottom. So it's going to be a little hard to show, but I'm pretty much right around halfway done, which is so exciting. Okay, and I have a piece of this kind of safety pin so I can get an idea of shape. Oh my god, it looks so big on the screen. So this is the bottom of it, And then this is the collar. So essentially it sits like this on the collar. Then it kind of folds over, and then there's an arm, and then eventually I will create a border down here and seam this. But so this is the armhole. Oops, this way. Kind of tell how that's going. So what I'm doing now is actually knitting all the way across the back. So let me see if I can show you the back side of this. All turned around. Okay, so see how, so it's kind of triangular. So this is the armhole. So now I'm knitting this way to kind of create the other side. But yeah, I'm pretty much, I would say halfway through where the back should be. I'm working on, so if you can see from where this little stitch marker is, I needed to do 47 of these little bumps. That's kind of how I know like what the repeats are. And I think I'm at like 20 something. And then like I said, the only other piece after I finish that and then do the other arm is to then pick up stitches here to match a border down here on the bottom. So I'm really liking it. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's mostly rib and stockinette, and a couple, you know, one purl row for every 3 knit rows, which isn't so bad. I had a little bit of problem with gauge because, surprise, I didn't do a gauge swatch because why would I? Because it's me, right? The sweater comes in 3 sizes, just kind of 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, and it gives measurements, and because I'll put pictures up, I may have already done that, because it's supposed to be very big and like cocoon shaped, you know, and it's open, so I was sort of kind of trying to figure out what size to make. So I went for the size 2, which is like the medium size of the 3, and used just the needle that was called for. Now granted, this yarn wasn't the yarn that was particularly used with the pattern, and I didn't really compare to see whether this was a different sort of heaviness of worsted than what was used in the pattern or what other people had used this yarn. Like when I looked at some of the other projects, some people had used this yarn. But there are points at which, you know, she says how many repeats to do and then what measurements should be at that point, and I wasn't getting that. Luckily with this pattern, it's fairly straightforward enough that I could figure out where to add more, how I could do more repeats. I am making notes on my projects page. I'll say that too, which I've said before, but if you're new to the podcast, welcome. And I do try and keep track of all my projects on Ravelry. So I'm trying to be good about this one and really keeping notes of like how many more repeats I did, because when I get back to the other side, I have to make sure I, you know, do as many kind of, there's sort of increases at the point at which I'm talking about. So I need to make sure I do the same number of decreases on the other side. And then I also was worried about the size of the armhole and kind of the size of the back. So there's a point at which you cast on extra stitches. So I cast on a few more. So anyway, so I am hoping it's going to fit. I've never used this yarn before, so I don't really know how it blocks. Actually, that's a lie. So the project that I showed, I think last episode, the 21 color slouch hat that has all those stripes, that is Blue Sky wool stock. And I did end up blocking that hat, and it came out a little bit softer, and it did stretch a little, but it's hard to know with a hat because there were so many different color changes in there, and I knotted some of the color changes, so who knows whether it, you know, I didn't want the hat to stretch a ton, so I just kind of let it dry. So, but it did stretch a little bit just from not even trying. So, so I did at least get to see kind of how it will feel, and it does feel a little bit softer. But again, it's not that scratchy of a wool at all, even without blocking. I'm very happy with that because I was worried I didn't want anything kind of too rough, since I am a big merino fan. Anyway, so Rhinebeck is in 3 weeks, so I really need to finish this guy. So I've been trying to work on it as much as humanly possible, which hasn't been at all these last 2 weeks when I've been sick. But yesterday I got a little bit done, and today I got a little bit more done, and I will definitely keep working on it tonight. So have any of you ever timed yourself to like see how long it takes to do different repeats of a pattern. Like, so I get to the point where I was freaking out and I'm like, maybe it's not possible. Like, maybe I won't be able to finish. Maybe it's not possible. Where I am now, it's a 4-row repeat. So on my iPhone, you can do the timer setting. And then what's interesting is that you can also do like laps. So I kind of did it where I did 4 laps, which represented each of the 4 rows. And then obviously the total of it is how long it takes me to do one repeat. So it was good too, because it was a time where I was just like, okay, if I have no interruptions and I'm just sitting here and knitting and kind of trying to do it at a fairly good speed, how long would it take me? And pretty much each row right now, with the number of stitches that's on it, which is for the most of the sweater, is just about 5 minutes. Some rows took me a little under 5, some took me a little over. The purl row took me like 5 minutes and 25 seconds or something, so I'm definitely slower when I purl. So not too bad. So I'm like, 20 minutes for a repeat isn't so bad. I think I have, so that I was trying to figure it out. So if it's 3 repeats take me an hour, and I have about, actually now I'm probably about 18 more to finish like the main part of the back. So that's only 6 hours. And then the other section's not as bad, because then it's decreases. And then I just have to pick up and do the border, which shouldn't be bad. So I'm like, if I can put in a couple more hours tonight, and even just a half hour to an hour at night the rest of this week, shouldn't be too bad. And I say all that too because next weekend I leave to go to Las Vegas for a work conference, and I will be there pretty close to a week. I go out on Saturday and then fly back on a Thursday to Friday overnight. And I'm not going to bring this with me just because it's too big of a project. I don't want anything to happen to it. I don't want to lose it or have them confiscate it. I don't want any of that. So I'm going to bring some of kind of my smaller projects, like the 2 I didn't show you, the Chroma stripe scarf, the Times a Thief scarf, the multi-directional diagonal one that I just showed you in that Chroma bulky. And then I want to do a pair of fingerless mitts with Knit Picks Fleechy. So I think I might start a pair of those. So I think that'll be enough, and they're smaller projects that can go with me. Anyway, so I'm going to lose all of the week after next while I'm in Vegas and not be able to work on it. Then the following weekend is Rhinebeck. So I really want to get a lot done this week. So that's my goal. On the note too of me being gone, so my next podcast will probably be 2 weeks from now, because I'll be in Vegas next week to the week after. 2 weekends from now I have a little bit of stuff going on, but I do hope to try and podcast either that weekend or maybe some afternoon, evening the following week before Rhinebeck, just so I can kind of get something posted. And speaking of Rhinebeck too, I guess just while I'm on the topic, so I'm going to be there just the Saturday. I've never been to Rhinebeck before, which I've said. I'm going on a bus trip with my local yarn shop, which is Another Yarn in Burlington, Mass. I know no one on the bus on the trip. None of my friends are going. Granted, there may be local people that are actually going that maybe I've interacted with sort of on Instagram and stuff. I don't know. So if any of you are watching and you're actually going on that bus trip, let me know, please, because it would be awesome to meet up with you and sit with you and whatever. But so even when I get there, I'm kind of solo when I get there. You know, I know a lot of people are going. I know a lot of fellow podcasters and yarn dyers and other people that I've been friendly with. So I'm excited to meet a lot of people when I'm out there. But for anyone who has been before, I'm totally open to advice. And if you are going and you want to get together, definitely reach out to me, either message me here or message me on Ravelry. Would definitely love to meet you guys. I also know there's a podcaster meetup at some point too. So if any of fellow podcasters that are watching this and you have any more details about that, definitely let me know. I'll get into the next time I podcast right before I go. I'll kind of let you guys know sort of what my plan is and the kinds of things that I want to do and the things that I definitely want to see. The trip leaves like super early in the morning, so I think we get there by 11 maybe, and then I think leave at like 5 or 6 or something, so I don't have tons of time there, but I just want to go. You know, I'm going for the experience, and then hopefully next year I want to go for the whole weekend. I really would love to. So hopefully all of you and people that I've met throughout this process, I would love to kind of bunk with some people next year and enjoy kind of the whole weekend experience. That would be awesome. But anyway, that's next year. So I'm still kind of focused on baby steps and getting there this year. Anyway, so hopefully I will have a sweater to actually wear. And again, if I don't finish this, I have that other one, which is perfectly fine, but I'm kind of excited about this one. Okay, and just to finish up, I just want to kind of show you a couple other things that I got over these past few weeks. I actually haven't been buying too many things. We are in the process of potentially buying a condo out in Vegas. I think I've mentioned before, my husband and I go out there every February and we love it. And I think eventually we'll probably retire out there kind of in our earlier retirement years. So we're looking at a building where we like to stay, or in that sort of area where we like to stay, in a building where we'd love to live someday. So we're looking to kind of buy that and rent it out in the short term, kind of pay off the mortgage as quick as we can, and then just sort of have it to use at our leisure. So that's kind of our plan. So anyway, we're trying to save dollars a little bit while we're kind of going through all this. So I've been, putting a lot of yarn up for sale. I kind of did a little bit of a de-stash on Yarnbox, old Yarnbox subscriptions that I haven't used, and I do have just a bunch of random stuff in my de-stash too. So I've been kind of trying to build up PayPal a little bit so that if I do want to buy anything, that at least then it comes from stuff that I've sold. But anyway, so I don't have too much to show. So the first thing is another project bag, which, I really need another project bag, but there's so many wonderful makers out there, and everyone's just like a little bit different and has different qualities about the bag or the yarn or whatever that I just love. So it's hard to resist. So this is the wonderful Ellisonlaine. So I've been eyeing her bags for a really long time. I follow her on Instagram. I don't know how I first heard about her bags. So they're very, very sturdy, have a really nice flat bottom. This one has a suede leather handle. Some of them are zips. This one just has a snap right here. So it leaves kind of both sides open. Some of them have a different handle. Like I said, some of them zip. This, I think, is her bigger one. I think she has smaller ones, and she also has, I think, notion pouches too. The interior of this is really cool too. It's like feathers and arrows, which kind of goes with this. I don't know. I just loved it. And even these this green color is a little out of my comfort zone, but I love it. Like I love the kind of balance of the pretty feathers with this. So this is actually what my Veronica cardigan has been in. It's not going to fit much anymore, but for half of a sweater, I've been able to fit this in here, and it works nice because it just sits really well on my couch, just open like this with my sweater and the yarn in it. I do need to wind more yarn to finish that sweater, so I have to do that probably right when I'm done the podcast. So anyway, I did want to show this. I probably may work on getting one of her bags for a future giveaway, I think. Speaking of giveaways, so I just went over 400 subscribers to this channel, which to me is amazing. I know there are other podcasters out there with thousands and tens of thousands, but it's just little old me over here just kind of sharing what I'm doing. So to have 408, I think, of you subscribe is awesome, and I super appreciate it. I do want to do a giveaway at 500, so if there are any of you out there that love my podcast and enjoy it and keep on coming back but haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, I would love it if you would. It definitely just sort of gives me an indication of how well I'm doing as a podcaster, and I just love kind of the support from everybody. Also, I think I have just over 450 followers on Instagram, which is really cool too. I may do something for a 500 follower giveaway on that, but anyway, kind of working on it, so just kind of keeping everybody posted. I do have a couple things that have been donated that I've been kind of saving for when the time comes. So anyway, so that'll hopefully be soon. Maybe something big after Rhinebeck will be fun. So anyway, so Ellisonlaine, awesome bag. I'll stick with bags for right now. So one of the other people I've been following, and again, like I don't know where I kind of start following people. You know, I think either other podcasters share them, or maybe on Instagram I see people share. So this is, I don't have her card handy, but this is Luna Pie Designs. And her bags, so I bought two. So it's a medium size and a large size. And these are like the fabric is like a cream color with green leaves, as you can see, and a little, the silver kind of sparkles a little bit. So hers are zipper bags, but she puts in like a wire part on the mouth. So when you open it, and it's obviously better when you have something in it, it opens like, see, like I'm pushing against it right now, so it's not closing because it's got wire around the edge. So it creates an awesome square mouth, open box kind of bucket bag. But then when you do want to close it, it closes super easy and it becomes triangle, kind of like a clutch purse sort of idea, which I just love. And I do like kind of having, because I do knit on my couch a lot, sometimes a yarn bowl works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, sometimes certain, you know, I just like having all of the yarn in a project bag, even if I'm knitting on my couch, so that the yarn kind of isn't flying all over the place. So I thought this would just be a really great option. So this is the smaller one. The bigger one is exactly the same, but bigger, obviously. So again, so it's just very, I mean, it's a really good size. I mean, it's a good size. I could put my head in it. Like, that's how big it is. So yeah, so it's just super, again, super sturdy when it's open. And yeah, like the interior is this pretty kind of shiny green color. I love it. So, I mean, I haven't used them yet. I just got them at some point this week. But I think it'll kind of maybe just sort of a bag that I don't necessarily always have a project in. It will just be kind of the one I use with whatever project I'm working on, kind of transfer into this so that I can knit kind of out of it. Yeah, so very, very cool. Again, something that's just super innovative that other bag makers don't do, and I love it. Okay, so that's it for project bags. Then again, because, you know, I don't have enough needles, I just kind of can't always be happy with whatever needles I'm using. I need to kind of switch it up a bit. So these are Knitter's Pride Zings. So I believe these used to be only available in like Canada and others maybe, but they weren't available in the US. So when they became available, I definitely grabbed some. So these are more of the shorty style, not like the super long ones, but these are interchangeable. What's cool, sorry, you see a lot of kind of reflection. But what's neat about these is that they very much remind me of the signature needles, and obviously much less of a cost and price. But yeah, they're just, you know, I don't know, aluminum, I guess, whatever. But, you know, they have really, you know, there's no problem with join right there. And obviously they're compatible with all the other kind of Knitter's Pride cords. That being said, I don't love the joins with Knitter's Pride needles. But to me, it's kind of more about kind of the feel of the drag, like on the actual needle. And yeah, I've just been kind of liking more of that sort of slippery aluminum feel. Probably not for every project. You know, Carbons and the Knitter's Pride Royale are the ones that have the kind of wood, well, Carbons have the carbon base with the aluminum tip, and then the Knitter's Pride Royale, which is the other set I have, is the wood needle with the aluminum tip. So I like those two. It just kind of depends on what I'm working on. I feel like I'm just a lot quicker on these, though I haven't put these on too many projects yet because these are fairly new. But yeah, and always good to get more different length cords. Then just a little bit of yarn. So like I said, Yarn Box, so Gabriella Vizzini's patterns were featured in Yarn Box for September Classic. So I got so both fingering was offered and bulky. I follow the sneak peek thread, so I always kind of know if people guess, like I know what's coming. So I knew it was going to be one or the other. I normally opt for the heavier yarns if there's a choice. I'll set my preferences to get a heavier yarn. Because I knew it was bulky, I don't like bulky as much. Worsted, I like DK, I like bulky, I'm not as much of a fan of. I feel like for the yardage that you get for the same weight, it's just hard to make certain items with limited yardage. So I purposely set my settings to get the fingering weight, so I knew I would. So the fingering weight, so the yarn we got is Shell Ridge yarns. It's a little hard to see their tag. 80/20 fingering, and these are 50. They're from Canada. They are 50-gram skeins, 3-ply fingering, 185 yards, and we got 4 of them. So it's like getting 2 skeins. And mine, you're really not gonna be able to see very well. It's just sort of like a silvery gray color. So again, I have so many other projects going on. I don't know what this will be, but I think likely I think I said earlier, I'll use Gabrielle's fingering weight pattern that she did for the box, because it's a really, really pretty shawl. I'll pop up a picture. I really like it. It's neat that it has like some lace and some cable. It's a really neat design. So I'll probably do that and make that with this, but not a super priority right now. And then finally, hopefully all of you have got this by now, but so the Woolen Boone, her most recent 3-month club, that was July, August, September? Yeah. Her last one just came out. And the name of this one is Uncle George. And as always, it's on her Boone Classic, which is her 435 yard, 4-ply fingering, 100% superwash merino. Oh yeah, this one you can actually see pretty good with the light. The yellow is actually a little bit golder than it's showing. It's a little darker, like it's showing pastel on the screen, but it's a little darker. And yes, I'm usually scared of yellow, but again, because of like all of the splotches of different color, like look at that. And there's some areas too that are very kind of undyed. And then, some of the splotches are like purple and orange and red. Like you can see kind of some of the undyed areas. I think it's going to be really cool. And again, all of her yarns kind of blend so well. The sort of, if you kind of look back the last 3 months for this, the one before this, I think was mostly just blue and white. I forget the name of it. Beach something, I don't know. And then the other one was like a darker blue with like orange. And then I have a bunch of her other skeins too, some of which has some gold in it. So her yarn is always a good one to kind of hoard, especially for the different kind of fade kits and sweaters and things that are out there, because all of her yarns coordinate very, very well. So I doubt I would use this in sort of a 1 skein project to have this much yellow. But I think with other yarn that has like oranges and greens and blues would be really pretty. So that's that. I look very dark right now. That's it, everybody. So thanks for sticking in with me under sort of different typical podcast conditions. But like I said, I've really been kind of missing it and keeping like, when am I going to podcast? When am I going to podcast? It's been so long. Like, hope people haven't forgot about me. So I just kind of wanted to show you everything and show you at least my sweater, like in progress. I didn't want to like podcast 2 weeks from now and be like, oh yeah, by the way, I knit a sweater. You've never seen it before. And hey, I knit a sweater. But I did just kind of want you to see what I've been doing. Hope everybody's doing well. So hopefully everyone's doing well. Thank you for watching. Thanks to anyone who's new and to all of you who are returning. Welcome back. Like I said, I'll probably podcast again in 2 weeks. Maybe when I'm out in Vegas, I'll do a little bit of a vlog. Like I said, I'm going to bring some knitting stuff there. So if I knit in the evenings, kind of after all of my work conference stuff, maybe I'll just kind of do a little iPhone video or something, or maybe Instagram Live or something, just to kind of say hi and talk to everybody. It's always kind of fun when I'm, away somewhere and sort of by myself, and it would be kind of neat to touch base with all of you. So hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's getting a lot of knitting done, whether it's a Rhinebeck sweater or you're starting on Christmas gifts or you're working on something for yourself to get you ready for fall and winter. Anyway, keep on knitting, everybody, and until next time, see you later. Bye.